All right, cool guys. So I think we'll get started. If anyone wants to watch it afterwards, obviously they'll have the recording. Just wanted to go over some of the potential setups that I'm looking at for the week. I want to see what you guys have as well. If you have any setups that you are looking at in particular, or if there's anything that you want to look at in particular. It's been quite an exciting day in the markets. Everyone's uh, in all the different chat groups everywhere. Everyone's pretty vocal at the moment. So obviously there's a lot of volatility in the market, which is what we're looking for this week, which is going to be really good. So we've seen a weak start to equities to begin the week. I'm just get my screen share up. We've obviously had a nice weak start to equities. Hide this one sec. A weak start to equities for the week. You can see we're still holding support though on the top of here. But what we are still seeing it is still carving our lower highs and our lower lows. So equities at the moment are, I think what they're worried about is obviously with the death of the Supreme Court lady, Rudy, that, I think the worry that everyone's worried about now is obviously there's going to be a delay. If there's going to be any fiscal stimulus or anything like that, I think that they're worried that there's going to be a delay in anything that could help boost the market sentiment at the moment. So we've seen equities open quite weak on the week, which has obviously given our dollar index its boost. And it has carved this new higher high as well. So moving into this week, there are some fantastic setups, which I want to look at now. Obviously, I think across Aussie pairs, we're going to see some nice weakness. AUD USD, I really like this setup personally. If we're looking at it on a daily level, I think the next trend line structure for us to beat will be this level here. And you can see there's a really nice little confluence we've got here between our trend line structure and also our negative 2.7 fib. So I think moving into this week, we may be seeing some shorter term dollar weakness, dollar strength, but more so as a correction rather than a long-term projection, if I'm going to be honest with you, because at the end of the day, all that is going to happen with equities is it's just going to be a correction. There's always going to be a reason for people to buy equities. So I think when vaccine news or anything drops, which I'm sure there will be something this week to give equities a bit of a boost, then we want to basically be trying to get in on some of these trades until end of week potentially. So looking at AUD USD, I think this is fantastic setup here. We had this strong daily level here, which the market was really struggling within this zone here to break. And now, we can clearly see that we've broken down into this new low, obviously in this shape. This has obviously created our new low from this area of support and resistance here, right? So now the perfect play comes in for us. If we take our fib, if we actually draw it from there down to this low, which is formed here, or we can do it on a 4-hour volume from this last high here, because we're going to be looking at a more intraday basis right now. With our fib to the lows here, we can see how the 50 Fibonacci from this high to this low lines up perfectly with obviously the support and resistance of previous days. So I think if we are selling into this fib level here, I think there's a really good confluence here for us to get short on it. And then with projected targets down to at least this support level down here. Obviously the fib extension down here on the negative 6.2 is a great target. In my opinion, it could easily hit, because you can see the reality of the situation is our horizontal support is here. But I think it would be more beneficial if, we target around this area here, just because then we're taking into consideration the trend line structure in play, right? And that would carve a nice new low in comparison to this low here. So, I mean, that's a good 2-to-1 trade that, I think the aim for this week, obviously after last week where we had like the 4 stops and there was nothing really going our way, is be a bit more conservative. And, these 1-to-2s are what will really add up. So if we're looking at it from a profit-taking perspective, we should be looking to clear the majority of our profits on the 1 to 2, because like I always say, a 3 to 1 is fantastic, but in an ideal situation, 2 to 1 is going to keep us winning, you know? So for the week ahead, obviously we've got quite a lot of volatility in the market with fundamentals as well. I think it's best if we just target these near-term targets for now, and then make an assessment based on that. So obviously we can clear majority of profits there and then leave a runner as an example. But I think AUD USD looks fantastic on that if we set a sell limit with our sell limit here, and then our stops just above this last high here. And then obviously with targets down here. So I'm looking obviously across the board, AD JPY again. You know, if you watch the Fibonacci video, and I highlighted obviously with the CAD JPY trade, and also with the the Swissy JPY trade, this is exactly the same structure that those structures played, and you know, it was a fantastic outcome. So again, you know, from this high here to this low here, you can see we have not tested this support structure yet, and this low is actually closed above this level here, right? Previous price action history has shown, I don't want that. Here, you know, there is bounce potential along this support level. So what I want to see is a bounce into at least our 50 Fibonacci there, you know, nice little confluence with our trend line structure. And then I think I would rather be on the side of JPY at the moment than USD. Obviously, just looking at USD JPY, we can tell the JPY has been stronger over USD. So I think, you know, we can see that in the moves here, for example. There's been a lot harder sell off on JPY. So I think putting our efforts into our risk off currencies, looking at JPY will be the best risk to reward for us, I would say. So AD JPY looks fantastic from here, in my opinion. You know, we can see it's a really strong level. It's capped it before. We have yet to break below it and retest it. So that is what we're looking for this week, essentially, is majority of these pairs have all broken out from levels. So, you know, it's a case of getting in now on the retest, in my opinion. CAD Swissy, I had this marked up. It was a shame. I never got to the level, and I didn't send the signal either, to be honest. But, you know, again, a good example of how we're just trading the breakout of structure to the 62 Fibonacci from the last highs to lows, right?
I was just actually going to say quickly, I was looking at that pair you've got up there, Andrew. And to be honest, it's kind of had like a big impulse move, and we're kind of in like you could say there's a bit of a range there, like consolidation. So
yeah,
there's potential to kind of retest those lows and see if we get some more bearish price action to push to the lower boundaries of that big sort of that wedge that broke out.
Yeah,
that kind of range there. If we can get a nice sort of retest there, you've got potential to go down to sort of like sub 68.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you know, if you're going to be playing that on an intraday basis and watching that as your support level, right? And then looking for what it's going to probably do is bounce on this negative 2.7 extension, come up to retest the bottom of the lows. And, you know, this is a big trend line structure down here that if we're looking at it on a weekly level, you know, that's our trend line from our lows to this low here. So you can see how that fib extension, the full swing of the fib lines up beautifully with the lower trend line structure there. But for me, to be completely honest with you, Max, thing with CAD Swissy is it doesn't have a very, like, the movements are quite, compared to like GB or anything like that, obviously there's the space of movements is a lot smaller in value, you know?
Yeah.
So if you were trading this, for me personally, you know, you're looking at 60 pips or something like that. So I guess, you know, that could be a decent trade there with a 3 to 1. Potentially, right?
It's not a huge move, and it is a slow mover.
Yeah, it is a very slow mover. And the good thing is, yeah, we'll go over UCAD, mate. Give me 1 second. The good thing is here, you know, you can control that because at least you know this high will be protected, and you have the negative 2.7 Fibonacci from these lows here. So you could definitely get a play there. I'm not personally going to trade it, but if I was you guys, you know, you could definitely mark that up and look into it, because I think that would be a fantastic trade, especially taking into account oil and taking into account just the whole risk market at the moment. Oil is looking really weak, but that would be a great trade on the back of that if you guys wanted to take that we could potentially look at it, but it's just the fact that I have to do a 24 pip stop to get a 3 risk. It's not exactly the ideal situation for me. Although if we do our fib from this low to this low here, we can see that you may even get an entry here should it come back up to retest these levels, because that could even be a potential good entry here, because there's nothing stopping. This is not a huge level of support, right? There's nothing stopping a close from below here, then going to just stay below this level. So in my opinion, price could easily come back up, just to retest these levels here and then potentially break down. But, it's one to watch for sure if you wanted to trade that. It's a decent risk to reward. I've got my eyes on other stuff that I think might be a little bit more rewarding. Euro AED, not really looking at Euro CAD again. We would have got stopped out on that trade on break even regardless, because once we hit these highs, we would have moved our stops instantly, So that's a bit of a shame on Euro CAD, but I think Euro CAD is going to continue up to break this daily level here, and then even come to extend to targets up here. So not on the watch list, where there's no trade in my mind there. Euro JPY, it's not really anything I'd want to be trading here personally. It's at the bottom of a range. I don't know about you, Max. I know you were looking at Euro JPY.
Yeah, I had it marked up this morning. It missed. I've set a few alerts on TradingView, and Euro JPY crossed over about 15 pips before I was going to take an entry, but then it just jumped hard. So yeah, it missed where I wanted to take a sell from, and so did GU. That was about 10 pips away. So a few pairs I marked up on Sunday afternoon, and NU was the same. That was about 20 pips away from where I was looking to take an entry. So
to be honest, I think the floor just got pulled out from all these pairs today, really sharp.
Back as far as I wanted to, but
but there's always going to be a pullback, man. That's the good thing. So we just got to look at it on the higher time frames, because even if you look at EJ here on a daily time frame, right? Now I know daily time frames are going to be a slower pullback, but we still have this head and shoulders formation, which is broken, and the 62 Fibonacci on a daily level is looking rather tasty, right there on that neckline resistance. We haven't necessarily had a retest of this. So that's one way to also look at it is, if it does come back up to here, there may be an entry up here, but again, that's on a daily level. So, but
a little bit of time for that, possibly next week.
Yeah, I mean, Euro USD looks great.
About the time it broke out.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a decent correction on Euro USD. This does look like it's definitely topping out. We can clearly see that by the fact that there are some nice lower highs being formed here. So I've got 1.178 marked as a daily support and daily resistance level. So I think selling into even the 50 Fibonacci here, because you have to remember on an intraday pricing, price could definitely still spike up to these levels. There's nothing stopping it doing that, because if tomorrow price brings it up into these levels, I think that's a fantastic selling opportunity to get in and sell the rallies on Euro USD, because at the end of the day, as long as price closes beneath this level, then we've still got room to go down, right? And then, targets down here. Again, we've got a 2-to-1 there. This is the main area of support for Euro USD, which is 1.17, right?
Just a quick one on Euro USD. With some of the rallies, even if you look to the left, when we've kind of had a big push to the downside and then sort of rallied up, we seem to have sort of consolidated at the top for a while before pushing. You've got it over to the left.
Yeah.
There's a few occasions where we've pushed up, obviously when we've been making higher highs, and it's been ranging for a couple of days before. You can see here, we've had a big push and then we've had a range and then a push. I don't know, I'm just looking at that thinking, obviously if we pulled back into those fib levels and that sort of trend line you've got marked, could we get stuck in the trade at that area, or would you expect price to just fall away?
I get what you're saying, man, completely. And then this is where the whole concept of trading comes in, where you are personally placing a risk speculation against it, right? So at the end of the day, when you can wait for confirmations in the form of IE consolidation, but at either way, you're going to enter at a price here, right? So it's either going to be in this area. So what it comes down to, and this is the thing with trading, is it's so much about confidence, right? Like, you should be able to put a sell limit at this level, you know, because you know you've got this level of intraday resistance and support here as well, right? You can see that by just by the fact that these 4-hour candles were holding above that volume, right?
Yeah.
If you could put a sell limit there, and as I've shown in a lot of the stuff, in a lot of the videos and a lot of the trades that I've taken, the majority of the time when you're selling into the 62 fib with the boxes ticked, I.E, momentum's on our side here. We've broken trend line structure. We've established we're topping out here. And we've established that, you know, we did carve a new low with the fact that we closed beneath these lows here, right? So we've established that we're carving a sort of bearish market structure. It's going to be a little bit more rangy than other prices, than other pairs, I think. I'll completely agree on that. And I think there's better opportunities for sure, because obviously you're selling into a bullish market here, right? So this is a higher risk trade in my opinion, but I do definitely believe that Euro USD is due a correction, you know, at least down to 1.16, all these areas down here, before buyers will take it back up, in my opinion. I think that it's a little bit toasted. And obviously we had the ECB today, and they obviously they expressed that they are monitoring the euro situation and the euro strength. So the fact that the ECB has brought attention to the euro strength as well kind of gives it a bit more reason for a correction before a move up. Just because obviously, you know, bigger traders will start taking a few profits on that, because the ECB can definitely interfere with exchange rates. You know, that's the whole point of of these central banks. You know, so if they get involved, then, so I think there is a correction in Euro USD, and it would line up with the other AUD pairs. GB USD is an example. I think we've got a fantastic potential for an entry here. I don't think that we're, you know, let me just sort this out. I still think that we're going to come down to see 1.26 area. So I'm going to be setting a sell limit on this 100%. And just to be safe, you know, I'm going to have my stops a little bit higher here just to protect above these highs. And then that's still I think we'll break that level and at least come down to here to target a 1 to 2, right? But we're on a daily structure, you know, look at that. I mean, that is a retest and rejection to the T, right? So we've completely broken trend line structure here. We've retested these daily levels. You know, it's such a bitch, this trade, because we were in it and the sell limit that I had was completely valid and it didn't get stopped out. But I closed it because of all that nonsense, you know. But I said repeatedly that it wasn't going to close above this level, because that's a huge level for it to close above, with everything that's going on with Brexit, bloody furlough ending in October. You know, there is not a hell of a lot going good for Britain at the moment. Let's be honest with it. You know, we've got COVID 2.0 coming in now, and they're getting, you know, they're quite vocal about how strict they're going to be, you know, with these lockdowns. So I don't think that there's going to be much GB strength at the moment. And
I think long term we could. I know it's like long. You'd be looking like this is more like swing trading, but unless things massively picked up before the end of the year, I think you could see pound dollar like drop below 120 easy. It could even revisit 1.14, which was like the new historical lows from earlier this year. Like, yeah, that's when coronavirus came about. But if we're seeing a second wave that are saying is going to be as bad as the first, like, what's to stop?
Yeah, 100%.
Down to those huge lows.
Well, if we draw a fib on our weekly level, let me just get rid of this. Let me get rid of this. Delete. If we draw a fib from this low here to our highs up here, you know, you can see that we're coming in on quite extreme fib levels on a weekly level. But this daily resistance that we hit here, you can just see that it's a bit of a mess because that's a huge fib I've drawn, but it lines up with the 50 fib as well. So, I mean, I think that's a good trade. I think we've just got to make sure our stops are past this high here, you know, just to protect ourselves. Obviously, we have BOE tomorrow. It's quite early. Last time they spoke, they were super dovish, which obviously caused this initial sell-off before the dollar strength dwindled. But I do think that this is going to be a great trade. We have a really nice confluence here of trendline structure, intraday trendline structure broken. We're still beneath all the daily trendline structures. And then we've got this 4-hour support and resistance, which kept the pair here, kept the pair here. So I think selling into the 62, which confluences nicely with this level here, I think that's a safe play. I don't want to be too, optimistic, but I think that's a pretty textbook trade, right? This low smashed all the lows, completely broke trend line structure. So
4-1 as well.
Yeah, so I'm expecting it to bounce on this support and then to have a bit of a dead cat bounce, because we're yet to form a new high, a new lower high, but we've broken lows and formed a new low. So that's where we use our Fibonacci's for. Obviously, because what we're looking to do with the Fib is establish that within this price area here, between these Fibonacci levels and this high, we can expect a new lower high to form. And to be honest, I think we're in a better position to sell it now than we were before, because what always happens, if you sell a breakout from here, how many times do you guys find that price retraces all the way back to your entry and usually takes you out at break even? It happens so many times, because what you're actually doing is the breakouts of these trendline structures, half the time they line up with the 62 Fibonacci of the high to the low for the retest. I found that numerous times. If I sell a breakout before the retest and it flies off, that area that I've entered is usually the support and resistance that lines up to the 60 Fib, 62. So this is a great trade. I'm all for this trade tomorrow. I'll probably set a sell limit even tonight, just to see, because we might get, Asian session might push it up into our entry. Who knows? But I think, again, if we manage our risk and we're just using appropriate risk, I think we could be quite safe in putting limits on all of these USD pairs. I think I'm going to leave Euro USD out of it, to be honest with you. It's not very convincing. It's still quite range bound. That's still quite sideways in my opinion. But if you guys want to trade it, there's a potential entry there, within the trend line structure. GJ, we're back within this descending trend line structure here. So there's no trade for me on GJ right now. It's in the middle of nowhere. I would only be interested in GJ up on these levels here. And then I think we have a clear run down to these levels here. So that would be a really nice trade to get in should we get a retest of this resistance level here. Now that we've officially broken under it, we still haven't had a nice clean retest. So I'm going to be watching that for sure. GU we've covered. New Zealand USD, again, exactly same setup as Aussie USD, except I'm going to wait a little bit. I don't think we've cleared enough. For me, there's not an entry here yet, purely because it hasn't come deep enough on the breakdown for me to find an entry on the pullback. I don't know, Hugo. I don't know if is Hugo on this chat. I don't know. Some of you guys were looking at NU. Have any of you guys looked at any of the New Zealand pairs? Anything like that?
I looked at NU. I was.
What were you thinking?
Yeah, I'm in them.
And then obviously there was like a clean double top, but I wasn't 100% convinced. I thought we might push a little bit higher before like rollover, but it just absolutely tanked. So completely missed my entry. But
I mean, daily looks like a fantastic double top, right? That looks like a textbook. But the only way we can confirm this as a double top is it has to take out this low.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason why I would want it to at least come down to retest this support structure here, because then you have an opportunity to get in on a pullback at some higher levels. And you've at least confirmed that, okay, we've broken a low here. So we're looking at a potential bearish structure being formed. Because until that happens, if I was to even go wick to wick on the daily trend line structure there, it's still very much intact. If I just drag that across to there, flatten this out so it's not so fat. We still haven't had a convincing breakdown here, in my opinion. NJ, on the other hand, Nigel, were you saying you were looking at it, bro?
Yeah, sorry, I came in late. I've just driven up to Norfolk, as you do. No, I was going to ask, that was you going through the New Zealand?
You just started looking at them, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think
trying to catch up.
I think that if this happened here as a scenario, that's a beautiful opportunity to sell into it. We just need to have this first leg confirmed on this break of these lows, right?
Do you think it is going lower? So that's good.
Yeah, I think so for sure. I mean, this is quite a clear double top in my opinion on the daily, like I said. And I think that if anything, it's just more a correction on these pairs because we do still have quite, you know, we have to remember that all of this stuff is still extremely bullish, right?
Yeah, massively.
It's still massively bullish. So until we break like lows like here, then we have to be careful selling anything because the stock market, as I said at the start, its tendency is to just go up instead of down. So you always, when you're selling against equities, you know, it's going to be a battle. So you always have to keep in mind that they will bounce. And when they bounce half the time, Aussie, New Zealand, you know, they bounce with it on risk on. But NJ as well. NJ looks fantastic. Again, I think this is another great opportunity to get short. This one we can, you know, in tandem with AJ. This is where I'm saying that we need to control our risk because at the moment, everything that I'm lining up, you know, that they're going to either move in tandem or they're going to fuck up, basically. Because this is this is the issue, right, guys? When you're trading. When you're selling XXJPY and you're selling XXUSD, you're basically hedging your whole book on risk off. So if you're like massively short all these pairs and then all of a sudden, you know, Trump tweets vaccine ready, you know, you're going to get stopped out within a matter of seconds. But it's true, you know, any little tiny bit of like optimism at the moment, you know, buyers are getting hooked on that and they're going crazy on the stock market. So it's really a case of just being cautious and managing your risks, especially in a risk off environment, because, you know, all of the trades we're looking at right now, as I said, they all correlate in that sentiment bracket. So we need to be careful. So for risk sentiment, you know, I would rather put out like 4 or 5 and spread the risk of like 0.5% or less across all of them. And then should the sentiment start to look good, pick the pairs that you think are dropping at a decent rate, and then scale in 0.5% on that, or, you know, add a little bit to it on a sensible value. But obviously NJ here, you know, this is, again, this just looks like a textbook trade for me. We had this clear support resistance that was holding the pair, same thing as AU. And again, we've gone high, you know, high, low, you know, new low. And now we're looking to form that new high and that trend line structure. We've got daily resistance, you know, I'm going to figure out how to do this if it runs out. We're not going to stop. Bruno, you might have to help me if you're on the call, mate. So, you know, again, because we haven't closed above this support level, I'm expecting there to be a bounce tomorrow into these levels here. And then we're going to see, you know, I'd like to see it down to these levels here because you can see this level here, you know, it's the same support resistance level that was here for the head and shoulders formation, right? So I think...
I was just going to say really quickly, are there any fundamentals during the Asian session that are worth?
I mean, I think we have Chinese retail sales.
Yeah, cruddy Chinese data. That's a normal.
But to be honest, with NJ and with these AUD and New Zealand pairs, I'm going to probably wait to find an entry in New York session because that's when Wall Street opens.
Yeah,
and
I was just thinking more from the perspective like these pairs are like Asian pairs. So if we did get anything that would sort of push price higher, it's just giving us more opportunity to kind of get in.
I don't really see anything on the calendar, to be honest, mate. There's nothing on the calendar. No, I mean tomorrow we've got Bailey and
what time is that?
8:30 in the morning. We've got GB News, man. So any European session trades will probably be quite early tomorrow because I'll probably wait till about 9:30 to see how the hour candle closes after BOE. But, you know, looking good. I think that, to be honest with you, any news in Asian session, these pairs are going to be focused on equities and equities alone. I don't think that there's going to be any economic data for the Asian session that's necessarily going to depict too much of this mood. at present time. Wednesday, we have some retail sales and interest rate decisions. So it's actually quite a lot, but that's not till Wednesday. So what we'll probably find is we'll get tomorrow's daily candle coming up to here. I think that the daily candle will probably close around this level here, just underneath the 50 fib. And then we're going to have to assess whether or not we'll see how the day goes and assess our position prior to Asian session Tuesday night or Wednesday morning for obviously this data dump here. So Wednesday is a big day for that. But, you know, I'm in favor of selling that. That looks like a beautiful setup. You know, the Euro pairs, Euro GBs are slowly climbing higher out of the bullish pair.
I still like Euro JPY. Still looks.
Yeah, man. I mean, if you know, there's a strong level of resistance here, right? You know, this level here. So, you know, you guys have your own trading styles as well. You know, for sure, you could probably get a nice short in there and at least target this support level down here. But I'm trying to just make sure I stick to my own rules of engagement this week because that let me down last week, you know. So I'm just trying to stick to exactly where I want to get my entries in. But I think that it still looks good for sure. Just be careful on the pullbacks. That's all that's all I would say, because the pullbacks will catch you. That's the thing. UCAD.
Yeah.
So UCAD, absolute son of a bitch. This whole pair has been. You know, we've been trying to this has been our target for like 10 trades now. Obviously, we've been buying it here. We had our targets here. You know, when I bought it on the breakout here, I had my targets here. And it's just, you know, eventually it's got to it. So at least analysis was correct. It was just a pain in the ass to trade. In terms of a situation now, you have to look at a higher time frame to figure out what exactly we're going to be able to, what you're looking at here, because it's sitting in a super heavy resistance here, you know. So looking at that level just there, you know, you wouldn't want to buy UCAD until you've cleared this level and you've come out on top of it, you know, and you're finding some support, because right now you're just selling into super heavy. I mean, that's super heavy resistant, and it's just literally retesting it. That's why I targeted this level when I was buying it, because this whole structure is still screaming bearish. If I get rid of all of this shit, you know, it's just on a weekly. Let's just completely wipe all this. Get rid of this fibs too. Yeah. You know, on a weekly level, you know, we could see price push up into the 62 Fibonacci, but this is still a bearish structure, right? So it has room to go up, but the question is, you know, you're going to have to wait. So to answer your question is you're going to have to wait, and it can't be a daily close. You know, this is a weekly level. So to confirm a breakout of this resistance, you're going to need to wait for a weekly close above this level and then a weekly support on that. So if you were safe buying UCAD, I think that you would have to wait at least 2 weeks, to be honest with you, until next week. Because I think that if you didn't get your entries down here, you've missed the boat right now. You may get your, what were you going to say, sorry?
I was saying the ship has sailed.
Yeah, I mean,
Massively.
We missed it.
We didn't. We were fucking on board, but we bailed, and we did actually get stopped as well. Yeah, we
jumped off the lifeboat.
Oh, what a disaster! Anyway, moving on. If you wanted to look for an intraday entry, remember, just draw your fibs from your last high, your last low to your high, and this would obviously be the low here, not down here. So just because we had an overextended, you can see it's almost like a W formation. So obviously you've got a strong confluence of resistance up here now, which we're looking for support. But, you know, keep in mind, intraday pricing can easily pull back to here. It can easily pull back to here even, you know, if it was to complete, for example, a full retest of this little W. But within this area here, Raul, is where I think you should be looking, buddy. if you wanted to look for an intraday short, an intraday long, and then, you know, just try and come back into this, you know, I would only be able to target that resistance point for now, but you can still get a decent risk to reward on that trade if you get the price action right within this area. But I just don't see UCAD, you know, I think it's going to take quite a lot for it to break back above this level because, like I said, this is the first touch on this retest, and we can easily see how, you know, we've ranged beneath this level quite heavily in the past. So yeah, you're just going to have to monitor it, mate. But that was my view on it. It's kind of a tricky one at the moment. No worries, bro. If we drop, we just join here. Okay, awesome, bro. I clicked that. Anything else you guys wanted to look at? Should we look at UJ just so we can see how we missed it even more? So yeah, that's another annoying one. Hopefully we can get some sort of pullback on that. But I don't know about that.
Some of the ones that we missed have still got opportunity to get back in.
Yeah, for sure. It's just annoying when you got the top, right? Oil, you know, that would have been a fantastic sell entry up here. I think that, you know, is Kenya, are you on the call?
I got in oil this morning, but I'm out now.
Gold, yeah, okay. Metals, I did want to look at metals, actually. I think metals look fantastic for sells, guys. I'm all for shorts on metals in the short term. And we can see, you know, there's a lot of trend line structures here, but I'm just going to delete that. That's a fantastic entry where we could see to get in. You know, we've smashed into a new low here. As you saw on the last one, we had this head and shoulders formation that Dave pointed out, that a couple of members pointed out. We had a double top here. I drew the fib here, it bounced on the 62, it smashed straight through, and gold respects this technical analysis really good. But what I find to struggle with gold is a lot of people don't understand that you still need to respect stop losses on it, in the sense that realistically this setup here has 153 pips stop loss, right? So it's very easy to over leverage on gold because, you know, you're not factoring in the fact that you have to have 150 stop loss to catch a decent move to 1866, because a lot of people trade it on smaller time frames, right? Because they don't have the account size to trade it on, you know, bigger percentages like this for pip for stop losses and everything. But that looks fantastic as a short. When gold, you know, we're clearly carving a bearish structure here. We've broken trend line structure. We've completed the head and shoulders. Are we going to get a retest up to retest the neckline of the head and shoulders? It lines up beautifully with our 62 fib, our 70. All right, I managed to do it. You really just have to just re-enter the meeting. It's so stupid. I didn't realize that you could literally just redo this. All right, we'll just let people filter in. Let me just post it. Post it in the signals, right? Oh, where are we? Just make sure it's recording. Yep. All right, I'm going to share my screen again. Yeah, so yeah, you know, gold, I think this looks like a fantastic shorting opportunity. I don't know what you guys think, but you can clearly see we've broken out of this huge consolidation here. And I don't see there any reason not to test these lows again, or at least within this lower area here. And to play it safe, like I said, whenever you're playing fib levels, target the equal lows if you want to play it safe. 9 times out of 10 that they will always come down to hit the equal lows, you know. But I'm going to personally be trading gold like this. I don't think I'll send a signal. I don't like to send metal signals, just because I think that, you know, it's a tough one to send a signal for. Because obviously a lot of people, you can't necessarily control how they trade it. So that's how I would trade it. The area that I'm looking to put a sell limit is going to be the 1931. What do you guys think about that? Anyone?
Yeah, that's what I've been looking at.
I'm going to buy from 1884.
Yeah, I got in a buy at 1885. I took like 100 pips.
Yeah, I think just play it safe to play it safely, mate, because you caught the bottom of that, but just remember all this is going to be is retracement into these levels of support.
I've already taken profit on it. It was literally like a 20-minute trade, but I literally caught the bottom of the move.
I think 27 is max. What do you mean by 27 though, V? 1927? I think that, yeah, 1927, 1928 is going to be quite a strong area. But what I want to see is the reason why I'm going to sell on the 62 is I would just like to see a wick. You know, I'd like to see it just push and then wick, push through this resistance here at 1927, up at least 50 pips to take out the stops. For everyone who's put limits on this level of support here, who's trading with like a 50, 60 pip stop loss, it'll push through, wick them. And then, you know, if we can even get a wick here, you know, that's a great confluence right there, right? We've got fib levels, head and shoulders, neckline, trend line, trend line, trend line. So that looks beautiful.
I mean, I was in a sale earlier today from, I think, 1955, and I wrote it all the way down to 1880. So
yeah,
I'm pretty much in those for the week.
Well, you've got a little bit to play with there, Kenya. So you can definitely you can risk a little bit to get back in there for sure.
Yeah.
That's a nice trade there. I think that will go very well. Silver as well. Silver's broken out of its consolidation. Exactly the same setup here. Looking for just a nice clean retest into our 62 fib. And then obviously a retest of this level of support and resistance here, and then down to retest this level here. Again, I think it's a super clean, just technical setup here. And again, I think it's more so just going to be a correction before obviously however far it goes down, before it takes off again. If you want to do swing targets, you know, there's no reason why it might not even come down to touch lows at 20. So overall, I think that metals are looking weak, but not weak because of anything other than a correction. So that's how I would line up metals: is look for selling opportunities on larger time frames. And then if you wanted to try, you know, and buy into these Fibonacci's on smaller time frames, then that's fully possible too. If you wanted to trade against it, you know, obviously, you know, using little patterns like down here and all that stuff. But 4-hour volume, I'd like it to come up to these levels for sure. You know, so yeah. Zoom, bloody hell, man, look at that. I wanted to buy Tesla here as well. When we had this beautiful move here, this nice little W formation, right tapped on the 62, and then, you know, equal highs. That's a nice move on Tesla right there as well. But yeah, any charts you guys want to share? Anything you want to talk about? Anything like that? I think we're quite clear on fundamentals until we got a bit of euro. I think literally it's going to be a case of watching Wall Street tomorrow on New York Open and try and get in on some of these GB Euro GA. Yeah, let's look at GA. So I'm short already on GA. You know, we highlighted GA on how we've broken back down beneath this descending channel structure, this huge false breakout up here on the daily levels. I wanted to try and buy it from here, but we've clearly just continued our bearish path here. So on, you know, from this level here, get rid of this, from this high here, which was the last high before this breakdown below these descending channel structure, you know, you can clearly see we're keeping beneath all these fib levels. And not only that, this descending channel structure, the ascending channel support is holding it down now. And what day is this? This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's a week now that is held underneath this channel support. So we can see that it's definitely holding as a resistance point. So if, my position on this pair is I'm selling it from the 62. Again, I've got my stops just here, and I'm targeting this 62 Fibonacci, this negative 62 Fibonacci extension here, because on the weekly, you can see that it's our next support level. So I think that it's quite bearish, but the thing is, obviously, AUD is weak as hell, GB is weak as hell. So what it's going to come down to is if the stock market, when the stock market rallies a little bit, that will give AUD a little bit of a boost, because fundamentally GB is a lot more short than AUD. But the Aussie's quite strict on their lockdowns and everything at the moment. I've heard they're really strict, actually. Yeah, but that's what I would do with GA, mate. If you wanted to play it safe, wait till you see a breakdown of this intraday trend line structure here. But intraday we can still see, high, low, failed, high, and then it's broken this low here, and it's carved this high here. So it's still a bit sideways at the moment between our fibs here. But what you could definitely get, if we come down, when we break out here, we take out these last lows here, then for me that will signify a little bit more bearish pressure, and you could draw a fib to try and get in on maybe the retest. Obviously, it's not going to go vertical, but just look for a retest after this trend line structure has been broken, and that's how I would play GA, to be honest, mate. But it's going to move a lot slower than the other GBs when you're looking at GU, GJ, GCHF, because obviously it's risk on currencies. So favorability for the short term, more profitability, that looks great. And I think that's more likely than not going to happen. If we put a sell limit on the 62, our only concern is that we don't get there, right? Because we may come up to this resistance here and it may just go back down. So if I send a sell limit on the 62, and it doesn't, it'd be wise for you guys to also monitor price action and monitor it to see how it reacts around 1.287 area and see. But yeah, I think that we've covered quite a lot of ground.
Just from an educational standpoint,
yeah,
when you're looking at setting like buy limits and sell limits,
yeah,
what advantage would you say it kind of gives you? So say say you're a full-time trader and you're on the charts quite frequently, and if you've got your fib levels marked and you've got all of your confluences, would you rather just assess price action at those levels? So say, for example, you set it on the 62 and it doesn't get to the 62 and it bounces off the 50 and you're not kind of on the chart, and you say, well, I'm going to set a sell limit on the 50 fib, then obviously it goes in your favor. But then the other side of the coin is that if you set a sell limit at, say, the 50 fib, and then price action doesn't present itself at that level and it just smashes through, you kind of you shoot yourself in the foot a bit. So I guess there's kind of two sides to.
It's like everything, right? It's like any form of strategy that you use when you're trading, it's 50-50, regardless of what anybody says. At the end of the day, it's either going to go your way or it's not. So by placing a buy limit or sell limit, so say if I'm placing it here, all I'm trying to do is, should this trade be, should it be a valid trade? That's going to be, one of the better entries that I'm going to be able to get on this trade, because historically, that's where you're most likely going to be able to get in at the best value, right? Because like I said, the majority of orders and, limits, because what this is, right, is what we see here is, boom, people sell. Okay, shit. People start closing their longs because it's going down, and then people start stacking their shorts, and then people who are up here start taking profits, and then people who are buying at support come in here. But then every single person who missed the rush here will want to also get in here. So selling at this level here, systematically, you're just making the assumption that price is going to react here. But theoretically, obviously, price can just fucking do that, But what we're trying to do here is just play in odds, the best price that we can potentially get in, should it be a valid trade.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because this high, theoretically, should be protected because this was the last high. So should this be a continued bearish structure, you know, we should stay below that high, right?
Yeah.
Because if this high gets violated, then there's a very good chance that this arrow is going to happen, you know. So it's just probability. That's the thing, you know. And then obviously what can happen is price can literally tap this, because we saw that in gold. Price can tap this and it can sell off very quickly, right? So putting the limit there is, it's just going to get you in the trade at the best price that you think is possible. And, you know, based on previous trading, you know, strategy based, everything like that, you're just playing that in the favor that it's going to go your way. You know, you can't be, you can only be so, you know, wait for as many confirmations as possible. Where sometimes you just need to, you know, get in the trade and trust the analysis, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just from my personal experience.
Yeah. I think I not misworded. I think I didn't articulate the message very well. I think I was trying to say from a perspective that, would you rather set a sell limit at, say, that level because you know you're getting in at a very good like price, and obviously based off like fib levels, rather than sitting on the chart waiting for price to start reacting around that level and then trying to catch up?
I mean, you can do that, right? If you've got all the time in the world to spend in the charts, but, you know, realistically, this is where I want to sell. You know, this is where I want to sell. So I'm going to place my limit there. If it gets stopped out, then, you know, my analysis is wrong and we move on. But that's just the way you got to think about it, because if you hang around and then you sit here and you're waiting and you're watching it, like, price can react very quickly on the opposite, the right way, and then you're fucked, because then you're going like this, you know.
Yeah.
And you still and you still have to keep
first entry,
exactly. Yeah, but then, you know, on a technical, you still have to protect your stops above this high. So all you're able to do is go, oh, fuck, you know? So that's why I would rather just, you know, put my entry there, set my risk, you know, let the trade play out. And as I said, you know, from a technical perspective, is if you put your stops behind the last high, it should technically, you know, be a valid trade entry. But for sure that, you know, like I said, drawdown could come up to here. You know, you could get in here and, you know, but it doesn't matter, because at this 62 entry, remember, our risk is measured to still give us a 2-to-1, basically at our equal lows, right? So we just have to keep that in mind. Yep.
Perfect.
Are you drawing on the screen, Lance? How the hell did you do that?
Yeah, I wondered what that was, if you could do it.
Yeah, how did you do that?
I've never done a Zoom before, you know.
Oh, there we go, great.
I thought it was just for me.
Yeah, no, man, we could all see it. All right, cool.
That's pretty cool. It's all right.
No worries, dude.
Did you do Aussie CAD, Fletcher?
Aussie CAD, yeah, I can look at Aussie CAD. I had that marked up as well.
Sorry, I wasn't sure whether you'd done it already.
No, I hadn't done it, mate. I mean, you know,
let's play it safe and start looking at the exotic pairs. They might not be so erratic.
Well, they've been
Nigel loves yeah. What were you trading today? US Mex?
Taco.
Taco. Good old Taco. I think it's looking a little bit weak, to be honest with you. Are you short, Nigel? I think you're short, right?
Yeah, I am short, yeah.
So, you know, I think that
handles look horrid.
Yeah, they look. See,
they are horrible.
This is risk on, you know, risk when it's like two currencies that are combating, when nobody wants CAD because obviously a lot of oil pressure and everything. Same with AUD, you know, with stocks going down, you know, no one wants these high yielding assets. So to be honest with you, man, if you're short already from up here, you may as well just hold it.
Yeah, that's where I am, yeah.
Yeah, if you're short from up here, dude, I would just hold it and see how it plays out. For me personally, I don't see like too much of an attractive trade there, just because there's, you know, I guess you could technically classify that as a trend line break.
Yeah.
You know,
it was going a bit sideways this afternoon. I just was looking.
I mean, let's look at this on a smaller time frame. because I think we may have a little double top on the 30-minute there.
Hold on, get the chart back up.
You know, we can technically class this as, you know, a potential double top. We have broken new lows here and taken out all these lows here, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, there's definitely an opportunity if you wanted to trade AED CAD on the trend line breakout, again on the 62 Fibonacci of that. And then I think you can comfortably target the 62 Fibonacci, which would come down to retest. You know, let's look at it on a weekly quickly. Yeah, I mean, we've still got this, you know, we've got this on this, you know, those would be your targets on a short on a weekly basis, right? This low and then this low, because those would be what would be challenged. But AED CAD's like, I think it's such a bitch to trade. I always get stuck in shitty AED CAD trades. So I tend to avoid it. But I think if you're short, you know, you could look for a short down to these levels potentially.
Yeah, that's why I was just trying to work it out where to hold to.
You've just got to, yeah, that's what I'd say, mate. What about anybody else? Does anybody have any charts they want to share? Does anyone want to like share anything and then see what like CAD JPY? Again, I think it's like CAD JPY is a case of late to the party right now, man. Yeah, it's just completely fucking melted. I don't even want to look at it. Just delete that. Yeah, it's unbelievable. But see, this is a perfect example. This play here, which was that short, right? This is exactly the same trade that's going on with AUD USD, AUD JPY. You know, it's this exact structure, trendline structure break, retest into these broken daily levels, you know, just come back into these daily levels. Same thing, daily levels here. But yeah, CAD JPY right now, you're at the bottom of the range, to be honest with you, man. So you're looking at like levels down here to look to try and find some support on a daily structure. I think that there's no trade here, man, to be honest with you. That was the perfect ascending wedge breakout. But yeah, I think that if anything, you know, hold your fire and wait for it to reach down to 78.3 level and then maybe look for maybe some consolidation, but there's no trade there, in my opinion. I don't know if you see anything else. If you have a chart you want to share or anything.
No, I'm not in that.
Yeah, I think it was Andrew. Andrew asked me. But yeah, I think we've covered a hell of a lot, guys. I think we've pretty much looked at everything. AED New Zealand, again, fuck you.
Gee, that absolutely steamrolled.
Yeah, man. But you can see how these swing targets on these Fibonacci extensions are beautiful when you have these confluences, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, that's a beautiful it's a beautiful return on your risk right there, 5 to 1. Swiss, this is another one, you know, perfect example of, you know, broken lows on the daily, coming back in to retest the 62 and back down. Trendline structure breakout, everything. But yeah, Euro AUD, you know, it's looking, obviously, this trendline structure is going to make or break it, right?
See, I've been looking to get short on this for a while, but I'm really hesitant because a lot of Aussie pairs look very weak as well. So it's kind of like
this is
a
the
tricky
thing.
one.
Yeah, this is definitely the thing. And to be honest with you, looking at the daily, I mean, we've just been within this range, right?
Yeah.
So there's
Just
no real clear direction at the moment on that.
EA is like AU and AEC to me. It always screws me over. I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really annoyed because we had this sell limit up here, and that would have been really nice to trade down to equal lows. But right now, with this consolidation pattern right beneath the trend line structure, I think that we can only wait to see how it reacts around trend line, because, you know, it's either going to break down out of consolidation from here,
Yeah,
or it's
I
going to
haven't
come
even
out.
seen that trend line. I don't think.
Yeah,
That's
and
weird.
just
Why hadn't I
try-
seen that?
But, you know, on a monthly level as well, we are at a trend line structure, ascending trend line structure, right, from these lows. So we are at the bottom of this trend line structure as well. So yeah, again, I don't think there's very much there for Euro New Zealand. Maybe, let's see. I just think that, like, I wanted to sell these pairs more than buy them, to be honest with you. I was set up to sell these ones more than buy them. You know, I was set up to buy Eurochef as well, but this is a huge trend line structure to break. This one down here. So I expect quite a hard consolidation for it to actually break out. What we need to see is a close here for it to come back down to retest, to confirm breakout before we could target
On
up
the
here.
weekly. That is,
Yeah, and that's weekly as well. But you can see how at least we are getting weekly closes outside of trendline structure. So buyers are keeping it out. So it's again a long one. But I think that's a hell of a lot, guys. I think we've literally looked at every single pair, give or take. So my main aim for next week is to get short term on Aussie USD, and just play some of this risk off flows while we can, and just see if we can get some of these corrections happening on some of these AUD pairs, because they're quite overcooked at the moment. And I do think that GB is, you know, it's looking shit, to be honest with you. Only thing I'm worried about is we have some range, which could be annoying. But I think there's enough fundamentals to go against GB at present day for it to break this support eventually. And if it's going to break this support, our entry is going to be from this resistance. You know, as I said,
catch a 10 to 1 or go into lockdown. It's cool. If we can catch a good trade, I don't mind.
yeah.
The risk and rewards there, it's all good.
Yeah. Well, I think there's some good setups for the week, guys. I think, you know, as I said, always just manage your risk. It's not a race for everyone who's doing FTMO funding, everything like that. You know, please use the most comfortable risk for yourself. I think that it's always smarter to build a profit buffer before you start blowing up more risk, purely because, you know, having a 2% profit buffer is still going to make you a hell of a lot more confident than chasing from, you know, 5% down, 4% down. As soon as, when you're doing these funded accounts, as soon as you start losing, it's very easy to go down the rabbit hole of losing. So keep it small, keep it confident. You've got time, don't rush it. And you'll know when the opportunity is right to increase your risk on the right trade. And for everyone else, exactly the same sort of thing. That's all I would say. But cool, guys. I think that was a good Zoom session. I think we covered a lot. Sorry about yesterday. It was an absolute nightmare. My house is like a little bunker as well, you know, so if I don't have Wi-Fi, I can barely even get, like, I'm like 3G, bro. You know, like,
what?
Yeah, dude, like 2010 to 2009, it's mental.
Old school.
But yeah, hopefully we get some sort of pullback on oil, maybe even to get in some shorts. But yeah, so metal short, we're looking at some Aussie shorts, we're looking at some GB shorts, and we may be looking at some, I think that's about it, to be honest with you guys, for the week. I think we have enough trades that we can try and reach our 10% target. I think there's enough safe technical trades that we can do that. So let's just smash it, guys. And like I said, when you guys have charts, you guys have any markups, put them in the chat. We're all here to help each other out. We're all here to get better at this. And you're only going to get better if you share your charts. So remember that, guys, because there's a lot of very good traders in here who can help you out, even if I'm not about. and that's what the community is about, right? So
Yeah.
But cool, guys. Thanks a lot for jumping on. I know it's late. I'm going to get all of this saved, uploaded, and then I'll put some limits out for just before European session. I'm going to be up early for it, okay?
Sweet, dude.
All right, cool,
Thanks.
guys. Thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate you jumping on.
Cheers, man.
Peace, guys.
Have a good evening.
You
Bye.
too, guys.